Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. This time, we're looking at a story about a realtor named Keena Bass. She helped a family relocate their 90-year-old grandmother from Florida to Pennsylvania. And we all know moving can be a little bit stressful. But when you add in the age and the distance and the emotional ties, it can get really overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we're talking about seniors. Moves like this have a really unique set of challenges. Logistically, there's just so many moving parts. You've got healthcare and transportation and downsizing possessions. And then, of course, there's the emotional impact, leaving a familiar place and that support network.
Yeah, and that's really where Keena shines in this story. We're working from a review by Lily's grandson, David. He really paints this picture of Keena as not just a realtor, but a real advocate for the whole family. He was talking about how Keena was handling the sale of Lily's house in Florida while she was getting settled in Pennsylvania at the same time.
That's pretty remarkable. It's not something you see every day, that kind of proactive service. By taking all that on herself is let the family really focus on Lily and her well-being during that transition.
Right, and it seems like she was juggling these two huge things at once. And from what David says, she was doing it flawlessly. And get this, she even got the full asking price for Lily's house in Florida. To me, that really says something about her negotiation skills and how well she knows the market.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes when we say things like full asking price, it can sound a little technical. Could you break that down for our listeners a little? Why is that such a big deal for Keena to have pulled that off?
Sure. Basically, full asking price means that Keena got the seller, in this case Lily, the exact amount of money that they wanted for the house. It usually means that the realtor did a good job pricing the home and marketing it to the right people, and then negotiating to make sure the deal closed without having to lower the price. And in a tough situation like this sale where everything's happening remotely, it's even harder to pull off.
David also mentioned that Keena was handling maintenance and repairs on the Florida property.
hmm
And I think we can all relate to what a pain those kinds of things can be, especially when you're trying to do them from far away.
Absolutely. It's one thing to sell a house, but it's a whole other level of service to be thinking ahead about those needs, especially with an elderly client who's going through such a big change. It sounds like Keena really took the time to understand what the family was worried about
Yeah.
and went above and beyond to help them out.
Yeah, it really shows how important it is to find a realtor who's more than just a salesperson, someone who really gets the human side of things. David also talked about Keena's commitment to honesty and integrity and always doing what's best for her clients.
And those qualities really do shine through in her work. It's easy to talk about those values. But to actually see them in action like this isn't just about closing deals, it's about helping people, guiding them through this big change in their lives.
And speaking of those transitions, I think it's safe to say we've all felt the stress of moving at some point. It can be such a whirlwind of emotions and packing and
Yeah.
that little bit of dread when you open that junk drawer.
Oh, tell me about it.
I remember when I moved last year, I felt like I was on edge, constantly worrying about everything. If I had someone like Keena on my side, someone who could anticipate what I needed and handle all those details, it would have been so much smoother.
I think you're right. That kind of personalized attention makes a huge difference. It's not just about the paperwork, it's about building trust and getting rid of that anxiety, making the transition feel less like a chore and more like a new beginning.
It's a great story and a great example of how the right realtor can make such a difference in a move, especially when you're dealing with the needs of senior citizens. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most important qualities aren't just technical skills. It's that ability to connect with people on a personal level. Makes you think right. What do you look for in someone when you're going through a big change like that? Is it that they know everything about buying and selling houses? Or is there something more to it?
It's a good question. We tend to focus on finding the person with the most experience. But sometimes those softer skills are just as important, like really listening and understanding what you need. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So here's something for our listeners to think about. What qualities matter most to you when someone's helping you through a big life event? What makes you feel supported and understood in those moments?
That's something we'd love to hear about from all of you. Share your experiences with us. What's made a difference for you? Because ultimately, it's those connections you make, that trust and understanding, that can turn a tough situation into something positive.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, keep exploring and remember the importance of those human connections.
See you in the next deep dive.